guys, Crew of Blind Wave. I'm Eric.
I'm Calvin.
I'm Aaron.
And we're here to react to something a little different today. Even though this is our movie slot, we're going to be checking out a documentary. This is Superman, a Christopher Reeve story.
Yep.
We checked out the trailer of this, and I don't think I've ever been more emotional at just a trailer. I want to say I'm excited, but I'm also almost scared a little bit. Christopher Reeve he's at a level for me that I don't consider him when I think of my favorite Superman. Like Christopher Reeve was Superman.
Yeah.
For me, like as much as Santa Claus was Santa Claus, that man's face was Superman to me. You know, when I grew up, like I believed he was real. That's how much important it was to me when I was a child. So, like whenever I at all hear things about his life and especially the challenges that he went through later in life, like it really gets to me. So I'm almost apprehensive to watch this, but I also really want to.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I didn't grow up watching the movies, but like he was the first Superman that I saw on screen.
Yeah.
So I do also have that kind of nostalgic connection to him being that character, and I heard from a young age like what happened.
Yeah. And
everything, and just having a little knowledge of it. But I know that it's gonna wreck me.
Yep.
I don't think I have any apprehensions. I haven't watched a lot of documentaries, and Christopher Reeve, I know of like the Superman side of things, but I don't know of like Christopher Reeve very well.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like I know little bits here and there. So seeing the trailer, I was like, this looks interesting.
Yeah.
And I think I'd like to know just more in general about like what he didn't do just on screen, but what he did do off screen.
Sure. I watch a decent amount of documentaries on my free time, just because I watch a lot of TV and movies here. You know, so if I'm watching something different,
one of the categories that we can kind of watch and not be worried about.
All right, so we're gonna be checking it out. You know, like I said, because we never reacted to something like this. Sometimes when you're reacting to TV or movies, you kind of get a sense of like, oh, it's a wide shot, no one's speaking. I can put in my comment here, but documentaries can be pretty dense in terms of like what they're showing and that the rate of information is coming out. So.
Sure.
We'll check it out, but you can always check out our full-length reaction over at blindwave.com, the link being down in the description and the pinned comment. And also, we are getting this off of Amazon Video on Demand. I believe proceeds of this go to the Christopher Reeve Foundation. So if it's something that you also want to check out, go get it and watch it along with us. Yeah. Let's have a good time. One of the greatest movie scores ever created.
Any more at home like you?
Not really, no.
Today, Superman, tomorrow what?
I've got another 20, 30 years ahead and a wider range of roles to come.
I haven't seen much else that he's really in.
Yeah, I think I've only seen maybe one or two.
Morgan Freeman?
Yeah.
I don't have any tissues.
For the first time in my professional and personal life seem perfectly valid.
Just push him back in.
It's empty.
My childhood bedroom shared a wall with my parents' bathroom, and when I was a little 2-year-old, when I woke up, I would knock on the bathroom wall.
It's a good-looking kid.
Looks a lot like his dad.
Yeah, he does.
Matthew and Al are my half siblings, but as we say, there's no half. They're my brother and sister.
Dad and my mom separated when I was 3, and so pretty early on, we had 2 households.
Learning how to ride horses was strange to me because I've always been allergic to horses.
He was cast in Anna Karenina, and there were riding scenes, and he realized if I'm going to do this and be on a horse, I have to do it for real. He injected himself with antihistamine every day for months.
I sort of took a crash course, enough to get me through the movie. If you look, that's actually me in the middle of the Hungarian national equestrian team doing steeplechase.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
It's Memorial Day weekend, 1995. My dad was competing in a cross-country horseback riding competition.
We said goodbye, and I ran upstairs to, like, I guess watch him, you know, walk away, and I remember him turning, I guess instinctively, knowing I would do that. And yeah, he gave this wave. That was the last time I saw him on his feet.
The Reeve family has refused to talk about the injury. Their silence prompted much speculation that he was near death.
I just remember thinking, that's impossible. We just kept trying to call and find out what was going on and was it true and how could that have happened? I mean, there was so much disbelief.
His doctor met the press. The news is not encouraging.
Mr. Reeve currently has no movement or spontaneous respiration. He may require surgery to stabilize the upper spine in the near future.
You know, he almost died. His heart stopped.
He flatlined certainly twice.
Dang.
Given basically a 50-50 chance of surviving to the end of the day.
You think of your parents as completely invulnerable.
The surgery that they did on my dad had never been done before. They reattached his head to his body.
Jeez.
Oh my God.
Because it had dawned on me that I'd ruined my life and everybody else's. I won't be able to ski, won't be able to sail, won't be able to make love to Dana, won't be able to throw a ball to Will, won't be able to do a thing. This can't be me. Why me? There's gotta be a mistake. Oh, I'm an idiot. God, I'm trapped. No life. What am I gonna do with myself? Spoiled everything. I'm gonna be a charity case.
Dang.
It was what riders call a dirty stop. I landed right on my head, 6 feet 4 inches and 215 pounds of me. This break is what happens when the trap door opens and then...
Jeez, man.
Half an inch to the left, dead instantly. Half an inch to the right, an embarrassing, scary fall that he got up and walked away from. We had my 3rd birthday party outside the ICU.
Dana threw like a birthday party for Will.
Thank you.
There was some fighting within the family. My dad's mom wanted to take him off life support. My mom did not want to do that.
He's a fighter.
And then I mouthed my first lucid words to her. Maybe we should let me go. Dana started crying. She said, I'm only gonna say this once. I will support whatever you want to do because this is your life and your decision. But I want you to know that I'll be with you for the long haul, no matter what. And then she added the words that saved my life. You're still you, and I love you.
Everyone is devastated, but it was not without moments of grace. One that was just incredible was Robin Williams.
Hello, I'm Robin Williams, and if you don't know that...
Had this deep relationship with him going back so many years.
They'd just taken him off, the heavy sedation, and I think he was just coming back. And I came in and, as a Russian proctologist.
He didn't know you were coming in?
No, they put me in scrubs, so I just had the face. And I said, if you don't mind, I'm going to have to put on a rubber glove and examine your internal organs. And I kind of said, oh, look at the size of this baby. And I saw he started to laugh because his eyes lit up and he knew it was me.
My old friend had helped me know that somehow it's gonna be okay.
The family backstory is complicated.
I'm not sure how much I want to get into the whole Reeve side because they were just so fucked up.
His family.
So there's this really charismatic man who could do anything from translating Dostoevsky to sailing a boat and chopping trees and playing tennis, and it was really scary. I thought I'm never going to do anything to impress him, you know? I'd say I was in this play and say, I got good grades here. Nothing seemed to make any difference.
But I found relief from all this uncertainty in playing characters.
We were cast in the same play in 1977. He was just...
Oh, dang.
What really impressed me was how smart he was. Now, I ain't stupid, May have been in Dumb and Dumber, but I ain't stupid. In the play was another new guy named William Hurt.
Right now.
And Bill said, "What movie?" And Chris said, "Superman." And Bill went right into, "Don't go, you're gonna sell out, you're an artist." And Chris said, "No, Brando's gonna play the father."
We were frantically looking for a Superman. The casting director had lined up many, many people, dozens of them. The most strange, like Neil Diamond wanted to be.
Really?
Robert Redford, we made an offer, immediately got a no.
He said no, okay.
He goes on now. Bruce Jenner.
Bruce Jenner.
That's right. There he goes. Physically, he was very good, but the acting, not so much. Schwarzenegger was running after us.
The main man is back.
He had theoretically the physic of the comic book. You cannot have Superman saying truth, justice, and the American way.
Justice, the American way.
It's urban myth in our family that Dad got the part of Superman and told his father. And Franklin ordered champagne. This is a very un-Franklin thing to do. Cheers, congratulations, so proud of you, da-da-da. There was a miscommunication.
His dad thought that he was talking about the famous play Man and Superman.
Not the legendary comic book character. Franklin didn't approve.
I know it's tedious. Did I hear?
No. After this idea of, will I live or die? Now what? What is life going to be like?
Yeah, right? What's next now? Now that I know I'm gonna survive.
That is tough because I can feel him, but he can't feel me.
To relearn the skills that people probably don't even think about.
That imagery is crazy.
Yeah.
And you lie there at 3 a.m. in fear of a pop-off when the hose just comes off the ventilator. You can last a couple of minutes, but those are very, very anxious minutes.
Man, get a fucking hose clamp.
Chris had just started to wean himself off the ventilator, and he started to recognize a little bit of success. And there was this one young boy who had tried to wean but failed. And I would try to speak to him and speak to his mom, but he was just adamant. He was so clear, I don't want to fail again. And Chris went and spoke to him. And the boy simply said, Christopher Reeve spoke to me, I'm going to wean. Just showed you the quality of the individual, that it wasn't all about him. And I wonder if a case like that made him think, I can probably do more in helping other people with spinal cord injury. Not just myself alone. He had tremendous work ethic and would push himself.
Brother Chris is fighting like crazy. When you find people who fight like that but still keep their humanity, that gives you great hope.
My mind wandered back to my weight training for Superman when I could bench press more than my own weight.
He trained his ass off, bulking up, 2 weight sessions a day.
The guy actually who played Darth Vader in Star Wars, Dave Prowse, developed a program for me.
Really?
Cool.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he was Mr. Universe.
Yeah, that's cool though. That I didn't know that.
And Superman's not a string bean, so.
Thank you, Darth Vader.
Yeah.
When we signed the deal for Superman, the head of production of Warner Brothers, who shall remain nameless, said that we will never make a movie.
Huh. I'll take that, head of Warner Brothers.
The idea was new in 1977. Superman 1 was the first film to try to make this comic book sort of real.
Flying cape, walking cape, that's
Yeah,
really cool. Look at all those, there's so many capes.
Gene Hackman wanted to be in the film with Brando.
Hackman, his dressing room was across the hall from mine. I was very gung-ho, 24 years old, and all excited, and I remember knocking on his door, asking him if he wanted to rehearse. And he was shocked, like, you know,
Marlon Brando.
Was it exciting to work with him, though?
Not really, no. The man didn't care, I'm sorry. He just, took the $2 million and ran,
Yeah. Well, he's here tonight, Chris.
That's funny.
What I liked was trying to play two people at the same time, Superman and Clark Kent. There's a kind of calculated schizophrenia between the two of them.
There's this amazing scene.
Oh, I already know what he's talking about.
Got me, right?
My dad's film work, and he was playing Superman, playing Clark Kent.
Yeah.
I was, at first, really nervous about tonight.
The voice changed, too.
Yeah.
My mom and dad met in the lunch line at Pinewood Studios.
Pinewood.
I knew there were big films being shot there, like James Bond and Superman. They had this amazing dining room there, and it was sort of like a big buffet. The people obviously in costume with robes on and stuff, and the chap in front of me was wearing a robe and had black hair, and I thought it was Richard Keel from James Bond. He needed something from the bit that I was at, and he turned round and he knocked me, and he said, "Oh, hello." I said, like, "What, excuse me? Hello? You're supposed to say, 'I'm sorry.'" And I had to go and clean myself off. I saw Dick Donner, and Dick said, "Oh, here she is. Hi, Gay, how are you doing?" And he said, "This is Christopher." And Christopher just stood up and said,
But I was sorry, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Instead of
not hello. I'm sorry.
He got those two backwards.
At the weekends, we were doing all sorts of things that he should not have been doing, like gliding.
Sure, it's good. Look at that thing. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's just a high-performance glider.
There's no engine, right?
Let-
It's just
yeah.
all...
Yeah.
They take
all
you up,
gravity.
they let you go, and then you just glide till you go down.
He'd flown across the Atlantic twice, solo.
It's impressive.
Probably not in the glider.
No.
The first time I ever saw Chris really fly, he came at camera, and for some reason, he actually banked his body, and he flew past us.
He knows how to fly in a real airplane, you know?
Camera stopped rolling. There was dead silence, and then like 50 people all of a sudden started just cheer.
Bye.
It's fun to watch now, but when I was a
He
kid, this was
convinced
just
me
real.
when I first met him that he would fly. He's also convinced me he'll walk again.
Oh, man.
I mean, the life, and then jumping back to like talking about making Superman, and then back to his life,
Yeah.
and then back to Superman. You know.
Superman.
Dad was 42 when he had the accident, and Will was almost 3. I'm 42 right now, and my son's 3. Yeah, it was really only after becoming a parent myself that it really hit home how hard it must have been for him.
In February of '96, I was asked to make a special appearance on the Academy Awards.
It was almost a full year since his accident, and I think that's a hard invitation to turn down.
Wow.
So many faces.
Yeah.
It was a production just to get my dad out of the house. But Robin and Marcia bought us a specialized retrofitted van.
Aww.
Physically tied down to the floor.
Fuck yeah, Robin Williams.
It was time for me to prepare to go on stage. I wondered, would I spasm? My body jerking into an awkward position? Would I have a pop-off?
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, Christopher Reeve.
Gage, you know, he likes Superman.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Kurt, Jim.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Oh, wow. Winona. Yeah. So young.
Appreciate the standing ovation, but it's appropriate. Look at Robin.
Because I wouldn't have missed this kind of welcome for the world. Thank you.
For people with disabilities to be so visible was almost unheard of at the time. Disability was really not understood as a part of humanity worth including, and for Chris to be helping to change that narrative was life-changing. I know it was for me.
I entered hotels and buildings through garages, kitchens, and I met cooks, waiters, and maintenance crews along the way. Many of them said they were praying for me. The fact that I was in a wheelchair, unable to move below my shoulders, and dependent on the support of others, had not diminished the fact that I was, and always would be, their Superman.
Say, Jim, whoa!
Excuse me.
That's a bad outfit. Whoa! Okay, Breslau, move these people.
The helicopter, right?
Yep. Yeah, we were just talking about this. Superman and Lois.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me.
Who's got
I saw it. I wish I had been Lois. Clearly, that would have been fun. Somebody that is that masculine and asked to do that could easily slip into some kind of toxic masculinity, but he always struck me as being gentle.
I don't think I was lustful like that until I saw him in
I'll talk. They went that way.
He and Robin were walking down the street, and Robin's going, God, I love this city. Nobody bothers you. They don't know who we are. And I'm trailing behind, and everybody's going like, did you see who that was?
Superman is Popeye! Forget Popeye. I want to know Superman.
Forget Popeye.
Are there things that you'd like to make sure that Matthew has that maybe you never had?
Basically not a broken home. Having been in a home that got ripped apart very early, I'm quite determined that this won't happen to him.
There's evidence that I impersonated him. I called myself Soup Man.
Lunchbox with soup in it. And he'd go like this everywhere. Soup bag. It's just hilarious.
Keep on it.
Soup man.
Step outside.
Would you care to step outside?
He's big.
I mean, get him.
Superman 2 is so good.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Oh, the Donner cut.
My earliest memories are from when I went to set with Dad and was actually in Superman myself.
Aw. I didn't know that.
We talked about marriage when I was expecting Matthew, but then later it just was ignored. We were criticized, but quite frankly, you live your life and we'll live ours.
The appearance on the Oscars gave me the courage to go back to work.
He said, listen, I have something I want to know if you'd be interested in doing. And I was like, yes. And he said, but you don't know what it is. I said, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, yes.
I play a very uptight wasp, basically, whose son comes home and is dying of AIDS. Those of us in the theater community, Chris was certainly part of that, lost so many people to AIDS.
I was stunned by his readiness to go out and be proactive, and be able to direct, to be able to act even.
Rear Window was his first time in an acting role after the accident.
Yeah, that's what this is all from.
I wonder where it was from.
That's some good
That makes.
footage.
I was going to say that makes more sense.
The vice president asked Chris to come speak at the Democratic National Convention. And the vice president sent up his head speechwriter. He was a brilliant, beautiful speechwriter. Chris kind of dismissed him.
I know what to say.
United Center in Chicago, Illinois.
He spoke at the DNC, huh?
Yeah.
Somehow, the injustice of what had happened just seemed so unfathomable to people. I mean, it sounds silly, I know, but Larry was Superman.
Now, one of the smartest things we can do about disability is to invest in research that will protect us from diseases that lead to cures.
That combination moved mountains. So it was.
America does not let its needy citizens fend for themselves.
Wow.
He was contracted to do Superman 3, but his heart wasn't in it.
Hollywood suffers from a very bad disease called sequelitis. You take what grossed 100 million domestically last year and get the key ingredients back again.
Superman 3.
Of course, the quality is a sliding scale of diminishing returns.
Richard Pryor one. But this scene, though.
I don't remember this. I don't know if I ever saw it.
This is like this bizarro.
When Superman 4 came along, I think he thought, I don't think I should be doing this.
Superman 4 was simply a catastrophe from start to finish.
By the time I was 10, he was kind of doing like TV movies of the week to pay the bills.
And that's when our relationship actually started to struggle. And we talked about maybe he should just go over to America for a while and reflect on things. He came back to London for a while. He says, this isn't going to work, is it? And so we decided that maybe it was time that we went our separate ways.
He kind of stopped coming home. For most of my childhood, she was effectively a single mom. So the day after I was born, he flew to...
It's gotta be tough to talk about this stuff in front of the camera.
Yeah. When Chris was injured, it was either a death sentence or this was the way your life was going to be without any treatment or cure.
Impossible and unsolvable are no longer in the vocabulary of the scientific community.
And it took a voice like Chris's to say, that's not good enough.
So Chris started the foundation. It was called the Christopher Reeve Foundation. He's like, you're executive director. I'm like, okay. The board was Barbara Walters, Robin Williams.
One of the areas that he really believed in was stem cell research.
My dad was obsessed with tomorrow's cure.
I think it's probably the greatest breakthrough in the history of science.
He would have been the first for any human trial.
I remember this.
This seems familiar.
Disabled groups have reacted angrily to a commercial in which the paraplegic actor Christopher Reeve is made to get out of his wheelchair and walk using computer technology.
There's a group of disabled community who were against all the research.
And they said he didn't care about people living with a disability, only he wanted out of his chair.
They're so used to being in a chair, they can't imagine anything else.
That's when Dana stepped in. And she's like, no, they actually have a valid point. That's how we started the Quality of Life program at the Reeve Foundation.
Tomorrow's cure. That is all my dad. Where Dana comes in is today's care.
I like that, today's care.
Yeah.
She rescued me when I was lying in Virginia with a broken body. But that was really the second time. The first time she rescued me was the night we met.
She was warned against me. The word was, look out, he's on the prowl. Because I guess I had a reputation of...
Love him and leave him? Or?
A little bit, yeah.
Like, while you're dating Superman? I had lots of questions, which I, never mind.
I think from the time it was fully over with my mom and the night he first met Dana, it was like 5 months. Yeah, not long at all. It's pretty wild.
Gotcha.
She wrote to me and she said, "Your children are amazing, but I'm not going to be a stepmother. I want to be their friend." So I wrote back and said, "Thank you, really appreciate that. Look out for Alexandra. She's the only girl there."
I'm going to read a poem by Alexandra Reeve.
Oh, Dad, please.
Alexandra's going to read a poem by Alexandra Reeve.
No, I'm not.
I'm going to read a poem by
No,
Alexandra
Dad,
Reeve.
please.
My poetry by me.
My poetry by me.
That's great.
I love you. I marry you. I give you this ring as a symbol of my vow.
Gonna start a family? Got the whole thing planned?
Yeah, well, actually, we have a son on the way.
So you've sort of started the family.
We have started the family.
Action.
Action.
He was so angry and he said, "I wish I could do something. Move a piece of paper, anything." And it was where you would normally gesture. And I was noticing that when he would do it, he would go, his finger would move.
He hadn't moved anything in 6 years.
That's something.
I don't know what it means, but it means something, surely.
They had fun with it too. I remember one day Matthew came home from college and he'd bought a little gift for Dad's wheelchair.
An eject button that we put under his finger.
That's great.
Dad started regaining elements of movement.
Putting in water doesn't take quite as much effort to move it in the weight and stuff.
That was worth the trip right there.
Wow.
So exciting,
Yeah.
I think if he could have just gotten off the ventilator, oh my God, and he practiced so much. It was brutal to watch.
But the strength of the muscles weren't present to give him enough ability to wean off completely.
It's easy to sink into a depression, and you have to get him out. We had a list of people we'd call if we weren't good enough. We called Brother Robin.
Another thing that Robin and Marcia did was that on the anniversary of the accident, every year they would get a chef at Chris and Dana's house and have a great party. Made it into a point of celebration and appreciate.
That he's still here.
Robin also had struggles that he dealt with his whole life, and I think that despite the way they look and their facade, that they both were aware of darkness.
I found this in one of her journals. I've been studying the difference between solitude and loneliness, telling the story of my life to the clean white towels taken warm from the dryer and held to my chest, a sad substitute for a body pulled in close. The whole man took his last walk away from me 5 years ago today, leaving only mind, soul, heart, and heartache behind. I carry the stack of towels upstairs, carefully cradling them so as not to let them tumble, save one still damp, the top one I had pressed against my face, which needs more time for drying. That's what she was enduring. That's what she had lost when my dad got hurt.
Oh man, that's gotta be so heartbreaking to find.
I thought it would be a good thing for me to tell one really good story about a family dealing with a devastating event.
And he said, "I have long wanted to tell the story as somebody who lived with ventilator-dependent quadriplegia."
She applied to Harvard and she got in. Her mother, Jean, went with her every day. They lived together, they ate together. Brooke graduated with a degree in neuroscience.
Daddy's in his off-road vehicle.
My dad taught me how to ride a bike, which is quite remarkable considering he He wasn't able to move.
How does it feel to be riding your bike, sir?
Good. Oh, so proud of you.
It was the accident that brought us closer together, without a shadow of a doubt. Together, like this. Things were good. Things were going well enough that Dana actually took a play in California, leaving Dad and Will at home.
Okay.
Things were good. And then they weren't.
At some point after midnight, my bedroom door slammed open, and it was the nurse on duty. Will, something bad has happened. Your dad has fallen into a coma.
There we were, back in an ICU again. The hope was that they would somehow turn it around, but he just wasn't stable. His body would keep crashing.
I think he died 3 or 4 times that day, and the doctors kept him alive. They kept resuscitating him to make sure that Dana got there.
And then in front of me steps my mom.
She came flying in, and she just yelled, "I love you. I love you." Over and over again. Making sure he could hear it, she was gonna reach him.
Certainly a part of her had just died in that moment as well. And I told him that I loved him. I would do whatever I could to make him proud.
And then he was gone.
I was in the back of a taxi on my way to the hospital when my sister called me and said he was gone.
Good morning, everyone. Christopher Reeve is being remembered this morning as a courageous and inspirational person who provided hope to millions of people.
Just have to water the stem cells there for a moment. But I've always considered him basically my brother. I was his fool, but that's it. Someone's got to do it. As ordered and as all things were that he knew were precise, I was chaos for him. And that was joy.
I don't know that I've ever seen a sadder person in my life. I looked at him and you wanted to break down in tears. He was just so sad.
I've always felt if Chris was still around, Robin would still be alive. I believe that.
Good night, sweet prince. Flights of angels sing thee to thy rest.
I made a vow to Chris when we married that I would love him and I would be with him in sickness and in health. But there's another vow that I need to amend today. I promised to love, honor, and cherish him till death did us part. Well, I can't do that. Because I will love, honor, and cherish him forever.
I promise that includes forever.
I keep picturing that crypto.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
After my dad died, it was just me and my mom. It felt strange.
We gave the van to a boy in New Hampshire. Absolutely changed his life because he couldn't go anywhere before that.
Despite the sorrow, the loss, the pain, she thought it was important for her to make Chris's voice heard through her.
A Broadway composer asked her to sing. And she had this little cough.
She couldn't figure out what was going on. It just wouldn't go away, and her back was hurting.
And sure enough, came back, lung cancer.
The diagnosis was stage 4 non-small cell.
And she got that diagnosis less than a year after we lost my dad.
Dana was so brave. I mean, she was just like, okay, I'll do whatever I need to do. Because the last thing on this planet she was going to do was leave that kid. It wasn't going to happen.
What are you most proud of in this past 9.5 years?
He's sitting right there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm most proud of.
She got sick pretty quickly. It got serious pretty fast.
Marsha Williams put us up in a hotel in New York. Matthew, Al, and I in a room. I was on the cot. At some point, the phone rings with the news that my mom had died. And I remember being awake, but pretending I was asleep because I didn't want to face it.
And so I waited for the sun to rise and then shook him on the shoulder, and we told him.
So in 18 months, Will lost his dad, his grandmother, who he was really close to, and his mom.
Despite the love and security that my siblings provided me and my family provided me and my adoptive family provides me, that was the moment, March 6th, 2006, that was, I've been alone since then.
Suddenly, there we are, and it's just 3 kids. You start to pick up the pieces and think, all right, what does the future look like? How are we going to navigate this together? My brothers and I joined the board almost immediately after Dana passed away to help give continuity of the family.
It is now the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation.
Chris and Dana, they made a difference. They are making a difference in the continuation of the foundation.
56.5 million Americans living with disability.
Over $130 million in funding to labs around the globe.
People who became disabled after Chris are literally walking because of him.
A man paralyzed from the neck down, walking again.
The Christopher and Dana Reeve Paralysis Act is the first piece of comprehensive legislation specifically aimed at addressing the challenges faced by Americans living with paralysis. Matthew, come on up.
You look like your brother.
When the first Superman movie came out, the most frequently asked question was, what is a hero? My answer was that a hero is someone who commits a courageous action without considering the consequences. Now my definition is completely different. I think a hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles.
I like that definition. I like that change. Oh, man. It's interesting seeing like the background before, and all that. I thought the style of it was interesting too, of like kind of jumping back and forth between like building up the Superman, like the movies, the character, what the experience it was of doing that, but then coming back to like here's this. So it was like here's him becoming the first Superman movie, and then it was Accident, and then we kept kind of going back and forth between those for a while until it was all about Christopher after. But I think it was done really well. I like a lot of the information they gave and covering over his life and the things that he did and the connections he had that I didn't realize. You know, like there's a lot there.
Yeah, there was.
Not even just like what other like actors and stuff he knew or either before or worked with during, but like just all the push and the change that the accident had in his life, also in a positive manner.
Especially the part where he talks about his outlook of being a parent. And how it changed. Like maybe I needed to break my neck to do that.
Sure, it's the thing he says at the end about what's a hero, and it's like persevering you know, regardless of the obstacle type of thing, where it's, here's the obstacle he has, and how does he persevere past that? And it's not just him surviving, but also like the betterment that even the kids said on the family that it had. And then like what he did for the, I don't know if industry is the right word, but the, you know, the community of people that are disabled, and like the push he had towards that, and just the changes it made. Especially like, I liked hearing, what was it, Brooke Ellison?
Yeah.
Where she was talking about like he was someone that could speak for us when no one else, you know, like you could have, you know, whoever who's disabled speaking about it, but because he already had that, that, I don't know, famous persona, and he was Superman, and now people kind of paid attention to it a little bit more, and he was able to use that, you know, to for the betterment.
Oh, what was that one that broke me real fast? It was the little boy that tried to wean himself off the ventilator.
On the ventilator,
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I don't want to fail again. And then Christopher Reeve talked to me, and I'm going to try it again.
I'm going to wean it off.
That was good. Yeah, I was just, that's an emotional state to be in for 2 hours. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm emotionally exhausted. But it's not every day someone that, because again, I said this in the beginning, like, you know, when you were a kid and you went to the mall and you saw Santa, that was Santa. When I was a kid and I watched Superman, that was Superman. It wasn't an actor. So to see the man behind it is a valuable story.
Yeah.
I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah, and just, you know.
Like, he was the superhero of my childhood, and now he's a hero of my adulthood.
Sure.
No, I enjoy that, him and Dana too, and like putting them both in the foundation and everything now too, when you have like his push for tomorrow's cure, but then she's like, yes, but they're valid too with what they're saying, like today's care is also important.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
So like having both sides of that, and then the foundation changing, and not just the Christopher Reeve Foundation, but both of them, especially after the passing of both of them.
He was so insistent on pushing one side of it, but you have to push both sides or you're going to topple, you know?
Sure. I mean, his point of view, and like there's some people who are born disabled, right? It's not like an accident like he had, so his viewpoint may be, I walked before, I will walk again, but then there's some people who are born that maybe never walked before at all, you know? And it's also like, I like Dana being like, well, it's not fair, it is valid. Like, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them, but they need to be able to have the care and the things taken care of for them that they need as well.
It's a type of thing that you watch and you just want to go do everything that you haven't done yet. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I feel that way. I felt that way, you know. I dealt with brain cancer with my mom, and then she went into remission, and then there was this time where it's like, we're good. Like, you beat it, you know? And when it came back, it's devastating, but like you still had that feeling of like, well, like even after all that work, like she still got to have the feeling of like, I think it's gonna work out, and it was such a valuable time for us, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, watching stuff like that just makes me wanna go do all the things that I've been putting off.
Yeah. No, I get that. There's also the granted kind of thing. Like I really like the family aspect of things, where it's like, you know, like all the things he did. It's like, are you glad I'm not like my father? And like they talk about the ski thing. It's like, well, you kind of just left them behind, and they're just kind of like, well, I'm not gonna be able to keep up with him and be with him and stuff, you know.
Sure.
So it's like, you know, maybe we need to kind of change his point of view a little bit. But after the incidents and being able to spend time together and everything, I like just changing like what is important. Like, is all the activity important, or is it the connections that I'm making important, you know? Or
I mean,
the time they had where, you know, it was great that he was able to live for, I think it was like 10 more years.
Yeah.
Something like that, right? It was like 96 to 2006. Like, they got 10 more years with him, where like it was 50-50, they said, back whenever it happened, you know? So it's like having this extra time that we could have not had at all. And it kind of got more personal and conversation-y, and we got into like more depths of stuff versus like, well, we went skiing and Dad made it to the bottom of the hill real quick, and then eventually I made it there too, you know? Like, there's a little bit more connection in the other one, which is nice to have, and some of that's taken for granted with different things. Or the idea of like, you know, he wasn't able to teach his son how to ride a bike in the way most people get to, you know? And a lot of people just take that for granted, of like being able to do that, versus he had to sit there and just watch the
And just talk to him.
The not like, I guess not absent father, but like the active father kind of thing that he didn't get to be, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he was there, he wasn't absent, it's just he wasn't able to wrestle with his kids or do those things.
Like changing from a participant to an observer.
Yeah, that's what they said, that there. And I just, those things there really resonated where it's like, man, you can't do. It feels like you're letting them down, but he was still there, you know?
Yeah.
Sure.
I
just found a different way to parent.
Yeah. I adored his relationship with Robin Williams.
Yeah.
I didn't know how like close they were and all that kind of stuff. There was a shot where he was in like a yellow thing. I think Snoop Dogg was in the background during like one of the foundation like events or whatever. And I'm like, man, I have that sparked something where I remember seeing like that image before.
You probably saw it on TV. Or
I don't know if it was.
like
I feel like it was from back then. Maybe it was in the trailer or something like that. But something about that. I was like, man, that shot when it pulled back and I saw Robin Williams in like this yellow. I was like, that seems familiar. But I didn't realize like the friendship they had, that they were roommates, that they went to Juilliard together, you know? I didn't know Robin Williams went to Juilliard.
Yeah.
You know? For some reason, like, that seems weird. But, because he was great, though. And I love is this Superman and Popeye?
Yeah.
Screw Popeye! You know? Like, that was so funny.
What a treasure that guy was.
Oh, my gosh.
I want to be like, we all need a friend like Robin Williams, but I guess the takeaway is be a friend like Robin Williams.
Yeah, sure. I get what you mean. Like, it's a tough thing with. I like the conversation about both of them having their darkness and kind of like understanding too.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for Glenn Close to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just.
Woo, baby! All right.
It's a thing of like, don't try to wait. Try to be.
Yeah.
Right. Don't wait. Whether it's a change, don't wait for the change. Be the change. Don't wait for the friend. Be the friend. Don't like. That's the kind of idea, and it's hard to change that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of those things. And sometimes, you know, you don't want to have like what he said, where it took my neck to break before I realized a change I needed to make, like in my personal life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to wait until that has to happen before you change it up. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I like his outlook on hope versus false hope, like that type of thing, and how like if you really try to analyze it, what's the difference between the two? Like hope is in the absence of trust. Sometimes, you know, it's a will. It's more related to will than it is to.
Sometimes it's irrational.
Yeah.
Like you just have to believe in something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And sometimes, I don't know, it might not even have belief involved in it either, where it's not like, you don't have to believe that it's going to happen, but you can hope that it's going to happen too.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Like there's still like.
It's like I'm not going to stop doing anything to make this happen because I think that it might not. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that it's still possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in the reaction, I still can't watch the accident.
They didn't even show it, right?
I don't know. I had to hide my eyes.
I would say, like, you were looking away, and I'm like, I don't think
did they not show it?
No,
Okay.
I don't think they showed anything for the accident. I mean, they showed, like, a guy fall, but the guy stood up immediately, so I'm like, that can't be his accident.
Okay.
Sometimes spinal injuries, you don't necessarily know that it happened until a few seconds later.
Well, yeah, but Christopher Reeve was watching it
Yeah.
on TV. Like, I don't think it was that incident there.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't even know if it was filmed or not. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seemed like it was a cross-country event that they were talking about, so it's unlikely that they had cameras on, you know, the whole stretch of it, whatever.
I mean, a lot of the stuff that we saw was really hard to watch, but like just by nature of being on camera, you know that when the camera's not there, it's even worse. You know, just
sure.
You know, I do love the moments of levity though, like when Will made that button. The eject button.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
Was funny.
Yeah. I mean, the excitement that had to have happened whenever, like, there's movement happening in him that we've never had in 6 years, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's just the excitement. But I get that idea there, too, when they're talking about, like, the hope and then, like, the depression that it can fall into because, like, oh, something's happening and then it stops happening again. You're like, well, what?
Sure. What was that? Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta wait 6 more years before more happens.
And yeah, I mean, you know, the medical field progresses. It goes on. Like we've had, I've listened to a podcast with one of the first guys that are involved with Neuralink. You know, the brain like implant, and you know, here it even says like neural pathways can reform.
Yeah.
Like that guy was speaking about, like, he can't move his hand, but if he can think about moving his hand this way, now he can control a mouse with the Neuralink, because like that neural pathway is forming just by thinking about doing this. Like creating different ideas, not even just getting out of the chair, but at least being able to be more independent and that type of thing.
Are you meaning like he can't move his hand, but he can use it to make a mouse move on a screen kind of thing?
Yeah, he can like his brain will fire, trying to move his hand, but you can train that electrical signal to respond electronically, with the
just map
with the device.
That signal in your brain to a control.
Super fascinating stuff,
Well, then people that are getting the chance to walk again too.
Yeah.
Things that have been pushed more that haven't.
They said because of the foundation, people that have been paralyzed after Chris are now able to walk again because of the benefits.
I imagine his frustrations with how controversial stem cells became was immense.
Yeah.
I can. But I mean, like him, I have the hope in my lifetime that we're going to see incredible things happen for people that need that help. But I also love the idea that even if I don't see it in my lifetime, like that work's still going to get done. People are still going to keep trying to, like you said, we don't leave our needy behind, or whatever he said. The DNC. What was the line?
It was
America doesn't let its needy citizens fend for themselves.
Yeah.
Like I would like to believe that that's the case.
I mean, that's when I hear truth, justice, and the American way. That's what I hear.
Yeah. No, that speech at the DNC, I love it. It's like they got the best speechwriter. He blew him up.
It's like, I think I have the words.
And then he talked, and I was like, I like this. And then it showed people crying too, and everyone was like that. What he said meant something, I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he also, what was the thing he said? We are all family. What are family values? Well, we are all family, and we all have value. And I thought that was great too.
Yeah.
Because I think it's so easy for people to look at someone, and judge them, and then, just measure their value rather than it just being like they have value. It's like, well, how much value do they have compared to me?
Yeah.
That kind of
how much value do they have to me?
Yeah,
right?
that too, right?
It's like, I don't want to treat them with any kind of importance because they're not valuable to me. But that's not necessarily saying like they're immensely valuable to someone else.
Yeah.
It's a completely different way of thinking and treating people.
Yeah. I wasn't super familiar with the whole story. Going into this, did you guys know that Dana had also passed away?
I don't think I knew about that. Or
it was only halfway through where I'm like, man, they have not interviewed her yet.
Yeah.
I figured they would have. That was like, I don't think that she's probably not with us anymore.
Yeah.
That's, when I watch documentaries, I'm always really aware of that. It's like, who aren't they talking to?
I didn't think about it, but the time whenever it was like, here's a journal entry from my mom or whatever, and I'm like, the only reason you read that is because she's not here to be able to either read it or talk about it either,
Yeah, I kind of thought about it whenever they said like, oh yeah, and we started the Christopher Reeve Foundation. It's like, well, now it's called the Christopher and Dana Reeve. So I wonder
what happens.
Okay,
that triggers
so maybe
that.
that's why.
Dude,
I just kind of pieced it together.
It's crazy that it was only 18 months between their deaths. Though.
It is crazy,
especially for Will.
Yeah.
All those kids had a tough life, but them getting on the board and doing what they man, that shot of Will with that guy walking, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
And then I think the number of disabled too. I mean, population has grown too, but I think like Christopher Reeve was like, there are like 200,000 disabled people in our, in our country, and we should help them too. And then whenever the kids were talking, it was like 56 million or something like that. Like it was like, it felt like such a drastic climb. But I don't know what the general population change is either.
The first one he was talking about specifically people with the spinal injury, right? 200,000, and then 56 million was just overall disability.
I don't think he specified spinal injury. I think he just
remember. I don't remember.
With disabilities.
And I didn't write down what the number was then.
Yeah,
I only was like, wait, man, I swear he said like 200,000 and whatever he said. I was like, man, So then I wrote down that, but
I mean, 1 in 5 people. I mean, they said right, living with a disability.
Yeah, because I remember Christopher Reeve talking.
Many of them silent,
and he named off like spinal injury, but then he also said like,
yeah,
I don't know what it was, Parkinson's maybe.
Yeah,
or,
you might have an aunt with Parkinson's or a neighbor with a spinal injury.
Yeah. So I know he said a couple things, not just spinal.
So they might have, he might have been saying specifically of that category, but they probably broadened the scope of that definition.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it can't be understated enough is the importance of, like what they're saying, like to have someone come out and talk about this in public. Because, you know, obviously the people that are disabled that, you know, you can visibly see it, you know, or you get treated differently. And they're thought about differently, but there's also a lot of disabled people that you can look at them and never know.
Sure.
You know, like it's
not all injuries are visible.
Yeah.
Well, and even putting like the year later when he was in the Oscars and it was like Superman being in a wheelchair and he was putting it out there for the public. Like the idea of like social media, and it's like, well, the pictures you get are never like, it's never like the gritty real. It's always like the things that people want to share and show.
Sure.
You don't always get like the real flip side of that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, look, I'm at the beach on vacation, but it's not, I'm stuck at home and my house is a mess and, you know, like I've got to do all this other stuff, you know, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So the same thing there where it's like when people are, especially if you, like Christopher Reeve, I don't know if it's different from anybody who's disabled or anything, but like trying to share that part. And like Christopher Reeve, like he easily could feel like I used to be Superman and now I'm paralyzed, and how hard is that to let me show this to the world that I may never walk again.
Well, yeah, that's like what she was saying. Like it's got to be tough standing in front of a bunch of people who idolized you as Superman, but now like they're just trying not to pity you.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, so like that's definitely a tough thing to do.
Removing that stigma, right? Because I think people generally walk around and they look at other people and they say, oh, everyone else is normal. But then I'm thinking about, well, here's the one thing that I'm not normal. You know, like I'm deaf in one ear, but, you know, whatever. Everybody has a thing, right?
Sure.
But we don't think about that when we see everybody else. We just think, oh, they're normal. I have a thing, thus I'm different, and I have to be wary about it. But if we talked about it more, we realize everybody has a thing, you know, and some of us have far more challenges with that thing. But if we had the empathy to realize, like, everybody has something like this.
What's normal?
Yeah. What's normal?
Like that definition of normal, like it's hard to find. Like you can't really define it.
Well, yeah. Where's the baseline of normalcy?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You can find averages and stuff of things, but finding what normal is, you know.
Yeah. And I did not know the detail that his last role before the accident was a disabled police officer in a chair.
I didn't know he did a movie after. The only thing I knew that he did after was I knew that he had been in like Smallville.
He had
as
cameo.
like a cameo of like a researcher of Krypton. Like, and I was like, that's really cool because you brought Superman.
He was a paralyzed researcher that could only look through a telescope, and he showed Clark Krypton.
Yeah, his exploration was like space and the stars because he was just stuck.
Oh, I think the editing, fantastic. You know, the pace, everything was great. But the shots to the cosmos of the Christopher Reeve statue floating in the cosmos, and then when it would show you the things that were going wrong, and it was kryptonite.
The neck injury, and it sort of like kind of bleeding the green kryptonite look.
Yeah,
that was
this is a really emotional story, but I want to be like, good idea for whoever thought that up.
That imagery was
that imagery is so evocative. Yeah.
And when I first saw him, I'm like, that's interesting. I wonder why they did that. But then they start putting the crystals like down his body when they talk about him being paralyzed and stuff. And it's
like you see the crack in the neck, and it's just like a really thin crack, but then the crystals grow from there until it takes over. Yeah. Whew, man. All right. Well, I think that's unlike anything we've ever reacted to before.
Yeah.
I realized that most of our reaction is maybe sitting in sullen silence.
Sure.
But I hope that you guys enjoyed this one, and if it's a story I think worthy of being told. It's not every day that a Superman actor can come and show you a heroic story that dwarfs anything his Superman did. You know, because it's real.
Yeah. No, I liked it. I don't know. But yeah, what all ends up in the reaction, because I feel like a lot of it was me absorbing a lot of information happening, being surprised at some different things, or just crying.
Yeah.
Yep.
A few good laughs in there. Robin Williams is always good for that.
Yeah. Very much so. All right. Yeah. No, I guess just thanks Christopher Reeve and thanks for Dana. Because I think, Dana, like, without her being there, he may have given up and never pushed to do these good things that he did later on,
Absolutely.
So, and then thank you to his kids for continuing on with the foundation and everything.
Yeah.
And Robin Williams for introducing some chaotic joy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Guys, thank you so much for watching this reaction to Superman, Christopher Reeve Story.
So many tissues over here.
Make sure you guys check it out as well. If you guys haven't already, check out the Christopher Reeve and Dana Reeve Foundation as well, and see all the good that they can do and have done in the community. So, otherwise, guys, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, and that's all I have to say.
Cool.